So, you want to hear a story, eh? One about a person who punched through a world that demanded guns? If not, too bad, I'm telling you anyway. But what constitutes a punch? Well, generally a type of strike via one's fist, so better question, what is a fist? For our purposes, they're the two meat clubs either side of one brick. A man of action, determination, power. Why waste time with such obvious questions, you may ask? Well, because first, we must determine the final question posed. What is not a fist? Brick's basic melee uses a pipe to deal damage. Pipes are not fists. Thus, I can't melee unless I have his action skill active. Furthermore, guns, grenades, jump damage, cars, these are all things that are not fists. Any skills I'm going to be picking up are tied directly to his fists, meaning I can only use the brawler tree, just cuz. And while I haven't actively practiced martial arts in a hot minute, I dare say class mods, shields, and artifacts are also not fists. We won't be using elements because that's right, this run is gearless. You'll find that Brick stands peerless. Welcome to Borderlands with only fists. Now, you may be watching the current footage and wondering what I'm doing. Let me explain in simple terms. One level down, just a few more to go for our first skill point. If you're at all confused, the first Borderlands has a series of challenges that all grant experience upon their completion. I can't actually hurt anyone right now because I have no way of accessing my own hands. But there are challenges for opening chests, containers, and for collecting money, so before I can get boxing against gods, first I must simply box. We spent a good while here reloading the map over and over again to spawn new things to open. For the record, you have to watch the intro cutscene with Claptrap in its entirety and follow him as he slowly leads you to your objective every time. Also, every time you load back into the game, you make the game's memory leak worse. Love to see it. Specifically playing the one with the memory leak because there are some quality of life changes that I just don't want to be without. After an hour and 42 minutes, though, we finally had an action skill. As a quick warning to those prone to visual-based pain, Brick's Berserk is gonna have a really aggressive and blurry visual filter. If you struggle to handle that sort of thing, then this run is gonna be getting really rough. But with that in mind, it was finally time to begin. And what a beautiful start it was. With a level difference in hand, these hands could separate anyone and everyone from their life privileges in one fell swoop. Just as long as they fell within my vicinity during a pretty tight duration. Incredible stuff, but only in bursts. Speaking of the level difference, though, we're arguably right next to the end of a version of this run. See, there exists a glitch we could absolutely use to fly through the rest of the game by way of leveling as much as desired, but that's not the kind of day we're doing. No, we won't be needing cheap tricks. All of the ones we'll be using are very expensive, and we're doing things manually. During the process of getting Firestone up and running, we had to pick up a shield that we promptly rejected and begun beating our way through some bandits that have already surpassed being one-shot by my right jab. For those that don't know, Brick has two different attacks. One that's quick and probably the only one worth using, and another that hits harder but is slow enough to just be far too cumbersome for me to give the time of day in basically every situation. That being said, it's currently the only way I can put these guys down without much fuss. Which sounds like a novel issue. Oh, poor Brick has to try harder to kill everything with a single tap, but we're currently 3 levels above them, and things are going to get a lot worse very quickly. Survivability, for instance, is actively getting a lot worse. Using my action skill makes it better, but the minute cooldown is kind of brutal. Means I'm basically left to my own devices while waiting on any form of healing or offense, which is decidedly not where I'd like to be spending my time. Doesn't help that even the uppercut was falling off in terms of performance. With our first boss ahead of us, the first attempt wasn't that bad given how it started, which is to say mostly getting shot through walls somehow. We nearly killed the guy when we instead got knocked down, and for the record, we don't get back up again. Brick has absolutely no access to fight for your life this go about things. At least in terms of using it meaningfully. Can't punch when I can't stand. So, no second wins. The following fight would go a lot more smoothly. Over the course of the next handful of levels, we'll be doing nothing but leveling duration, and his face was very pulverizable within one go about things. To him I say, hello! I do start fights, so I'll handle you just fine. One boss down, just the rest of the game to go. It's fine, we've got this. And now, if you're sick of me living the good life, first off, rude, but second, this is where that ride comes to an unceremonious end. Yeah, my survivability left to die its own death before dropping me off at mine. Time to start some odd jobs. Gonna have to train up to beat a man who has bones in his head, a trait entirely unique to him. We did get shockingly close at least once with a lot of luck, in spite of the gap in our levels, but something had to be done. Animal lovers despair, it's time to prepare. If our way to win is to best it time and again, then the test is only time. The bloodbath must be fine, because if the ends must justify the means and violence matches our themes, then it must appear in batches. Their flesh flattened to reams, our experience bolstered like a Skagzilla seat upholstered. It's time to batter the dome of a boss adorned with a bone. With the level difference less severe, the thrumming of fists is all they could hear, the common masses cleansed from the arena, his blood and organs made to paint its walls and floors, not so tough when someone's closer to your level. Are ya, bud? With that done, we finally had the ability to drive, so we could cross a ramp and open a door. And as far as I can recall, that was the first and also last time that we used vehicles for any purpose. Wouldn't want to risk damaging something with those big old tires. That'd be cheating. And by God, the maps in this game are bigger than I remember. I didn't think I'd be looking back and missing objectives that were only a few hundred meters away. Had to pick up a key because the first game likes covering the more menial tasks in far greater detail. In classic fashion, being able to run past things is a hell of a gift, but the experience, it calls to me. And it demands violence, malice, non-diplomatic solutions to interpersonal conflicts. It is genuinely wild. I'm not sure I can recall the last time a run through the series had me taking totally optional fights along the way just to scrape by, but levels were a commodity I couldn't afford to say no to, as my knowledge of farming in this game is a lot more limited than some of the other entries. With the near constant knockback, I could sometimes punch well above my pay grade, but the ability of enemies to retaliate is rather unreliable. It was pretty common to fall just short of doing something fantastic, and frankly, if I'm struggling this much to kill a bruiser, then maybe coming here wasn't the best idea. Still need that key though, because I guess that's just what these games are about for a while. We died a lot punching our way through, but the flesh is weak and the mind endures. I was determined. Not honestly sure why. I didn't think we'd be able to handle the problem at the end. But then again, cheese is a powerful thing. Who knows? Maybe I could be wrong. At the end, though, was painful. A taste of my own medicine, I dare say. Even staying near the guy was difficult, and this ignoring him doing things like straight-up teleporting. I'm not sure why, but a lot of enemies just liked to pop in and out of existence during the run. I really didn't appreciate it. I am wondering if it has anything to do with FOV, now that I'm thinking about it, but dealing meaningful damage to him was rather trying. Surviving even more so. His melee attacks were the least dangerous thing he did. His Merv grenades deal massive damage and are shockingly difficult to avoid. I figured I could get him stuck on some local geometry, and you kinda can. It's not foolproof, especially with him reverting to said grenades if he can't reach you for long enough. But let's be real, that's not the current issue. Not even close. Sure, dying sucks, and my damage is better than I've used in a lot of games now, but I'm certainly not beating him in one duration. So while waiting for my action skill to come back, we were able to confirm that if I don't hit him for long enough, he just regenerates to full. You'll find that 60 seconds is a really long time to just let him recover, and that's exactly what he did. That's right, Borderlands 1 technically has enemy health regen, and again, I'm not chewing through that much HP in one max possible duration. Trust me, I tried. This wasn't happening. Not like this. I thought maybe I'd stand a chance after he broke himself. Fact is, it made him considerably easier to hit, but didn't even sort of slow his damage output. So despite having picked up a level to try again, we really weren't performing much better. Insult to injury, his charge attack was able to fix him, and we were more or less back to where we were. Granted, closing the level gap a little made our numbers start numbering a fair bit harder. Now, there's a mini-boss in a side quest called Mo that I figured we could take a swing at. Wasn't going all that well, up until it thought it could take on the locals as well. Resistant to damage from the front, I wasn't taking the full health bar in one duration, but I could do a good chunk. Even better if I could get behind it, and my god were crits effective when I could get them. The hitboxes in this game do leave a lot to be desired though. Now, that being said, I don't think I ever killed the other half of the quest in Marley. Couldn't stay behind them to save my life. The rate at which things can turn is frankly ridiculous. After farming Skags for a while though, we were one level higher and one level under. Turns out though, it'd be more than enough. Wake up, I'm a fist unleashed into the heart of a wretched place. I breathe just to beat and bruise, an evolution of the burning rage. When getting back into higher level enemies yet again, just punch. Oh, if you think it's all going too fast, so just punch. If you think it can't last, oh, just punch. Maybe a lower level thing though, because our odds didn't seem all that great as they were. I might have miscalculated. While farming, I was apparently aiming to be about the level of the badasses here, which was absolutely excessive. Oops. I really don't need firearms though, on either side. I've got my weapons, and I dare say were I to report the current status, it'd be both guns blazing. Even the badasses made for a nice chunk of experience along the way as a result. Granted, death was still very possible if I tried to rush too aggressively. The big bad of a boss in the arena, by the name of Sledge, proved to literally be a pushover, as I was easily able to push him over. That being said, he was no slouch. Staying alive is hard in and out of game. Getting back into his arena, though, one thing was clear. He didn't heal when I died. My cooldown has been reduced a lot via skill points, and it will soon be 30 seconds down from 60. With a whole new level of aggression now possible, enemy health regen less consistent, fist by fist, sacralized we struck. Hate to tell you this though, Brick, today's leg day. Could be worse, could be better, but all day is gonna be cardio and this was a one-sitting challenge. Just a quick 18-hour, 17-minute session of Borderlands, and more Borderlands. With internet connectivity issues throughout, because you'd think an internet service provider could provide internet as a service, but what do I know? I'm just playing as a local pugilist. I digress. No, screw being against digressing. They made me walk all the way back here so I could then walk even further away. Who designed this mission flow? Even in a car, this is dreadful. Look at those meters! They barely move! Say what you want about this game, though, the objectives are certainly straightforward. As many issues as I have with this particular title in the series, there is an elegant simplicity to it. Design decisions from a time long ago. Right, to give the bandits here some advice, I'd say don't stand so close to me. I'd say try to take a chance on these curled fists. For now or never, straight through your heart. I'd say try fleeing, take a chance on just running, or we'll be together for the rest of your time. And here is about where the game fell apart. Like, in glorious fashion. I'm currently running with a speed glitch that I didn't try to activate, or know existed, but it's pretty well known, and I'm trying to cross the area to destroy cars that have audio that doesn't really follow proximity correctly. Their volume is always either completely absent or full. The moment they're within range for me to hear them, it's as if they were on me directly, and oh, they love to be there. If I had a nickel for every time I got run over. Luckily, the drivers on Pandora are genuinely some of the worst I've ever seen, which is saying a lot. True story, I once got back to a parking lot to find a truck parked in my car. I say again, it was parked in my car. I hate trucks with a passion. Like the time I was trying to pick someone up from their work and got rear-ended by a log truck at a stoplight. Or the many times I've been almost hit by them on foot. I don't know when our feud began, but they started it. After dying, we went from having a speed boost to a speed... whatever this is. And this is me sprinting. I have no idea what was going on, but the audio just seemed to be getting louder the longer we were here, and Brick did seem to start picking up speed for reasons I fundamentally do not understand. It gets even more fun with the car hitboxes being inconsistent, sometimes doing a little damage, sometimes you do literally none. We ended up reloading the map to hope something would start working. I don't think I need to tell you how that went. Flipped cars were still more or less the only way we were making headway, and despite doing very little to hurt them, my God, Brick's hands! I found that roughly back here was a great place to sit and wait for cars to stop functioning. It worked better than it had any right to, but cars basically just touching me while in motion was instant death, so it was really rough with how their physics like to break and possibly just jerk in my general direction, putting me back to square one. All the while, of course, I had to deal with their turrets. Their turrets are really bad, and the sound of the vehicles in the area got bad enough that I had to mute it for the comfort of chat. I can't even show you the glitched death screen without risking actively hurting people, and like, I know this is unrelated to the car occurrences, of which there are many, many questionable events, but I have to ask, why? Why in the world is this random post a ladder? Why does it function like a ladder if not ladder? What purpose does this serve? What other walls are magically climbable, and why gearbox? You can't just do this! And I'm gonna be real with you, I'm not even sure what I just walked in on. Their finger on the trigger, I'm trying to punch some cars, shot up into pieces, run over, or driven far. I thought it'd be harder to kill, but here we are. Up next were more cars! Luckily the drivers are just as bad and love to either knock into each other and also the central circle. Makes them easy pickings as long as that's in place, but that won't be the case from here on, so let's get into this nightmare. First, grand scheme of things, minor complaint, dying to cars gives a seemingly random chance to actually get health back or not on respawn, which I just love for me. Very inconvenient. Second, I am absolutely far too slow to catch up to Mel. Like, it's not even close, and all the while I'm getting shot with missiles that I can't meaningfully avoid. It got bad enough that I was genuinely questioning the viability of using the missiles being used against me to rocket jump toward him for punches, which for the record kind of works. But wait. Closing gaps to punch the car. Brick has a skill called Sting Like a Bee. It'll throw Brick up to 20 feet forward when punching at enemies, which would give a massive speed boost. You'll never guess what kind of enemy it just doesn't work on. You can sort of use it to catch up to cars with bandits hanging off the side by aiming at them, but your aim has to be incredible. So that was out. We tried for a while waiting to see if Borderlands AI would come through for us, because I mean, It's Borderlands. But of all the main games of the franchise, I probably have the least time in this one, and I don't think I've seen Mel sit still for all that long. Given that he keeps the instantly lethal feature, it wasn't looking particularly great. There's a common strat that involves running a car into his front side. It doesn't deal damage, and you can easily hold the thing in place, but that to me sounds like using something that isn't a fist. Therefore, cheating. The issue is, of course, Mel seems to be coded to try to maintain a specific sort of distance where he gets good shots on you, but you can't get too close. So, if I can't go to him, and he won't come to me, then what is a potato to do? Well, simple. Make him come to me. Whoa, I thought you just said that's not an option, you might say. Sure, if you're a quitter. To that, I say get good. Fact is, I hit him while he was in motion. As far as I can tell, the car only heals on my death, so if it bleeds, doesn't heal, and I can stay alive, then I can kill it. Quick aside, and fun fact, he can forcibly rocket jump you outside of the arena, so that's neat, and also mildly annoying. Anyway, you want to punch a car in motion? First off, what's wrong with you? Don't do that. But if you want to see a professional do it, I have to question why, but I suppose who else to demonstrate, so generally speaking, if you move toward the car, it'll try to move away. Really hard to turn though when it's in the air. By using the center of the arena, you can force Mel to close the gap. You need to walk backwards, even possibly pushing past the precipice of the outermost red ring. Doing so is incredibly dangerous because the geometry for the ramp is broke as hell. You have a really high chance of getting stuck on it, at which point you can't avoid missiles or the bumper. It seems to be less broken on the sides of the arena facing toward the entrance and the exit. I have no idea why this is, but moving off of and returning via these sides was a lot more reliable for me. When Mel goes off the ramp, the janky physics have him slowing down substantially and sticking around long enough that you have a good chance of getting some punches in. You also have a really good chance of getting run over and or shot due to some incredibly strange and erratic movements. It's as if it's heavily weighted on bottom. I don't know about you, but if I see a car rapidly rotating in my direction, I would want to move against it. Problem is, the car self-rights really fast and aggressively, and by doing what is, by all accounts, an intuitive dodge, will result in you getting run over, dying instantly. Positioning, though, for where and when you run is also really important. See, this fight is in two main cycles. You have your defense phase and your DPS phase. Unfortunately, your DPS phase is also your healing phase, so if your health is too low, you might lose out entirely. During your defense phase, you want to sprint in the same direction as Mel, following the red ring on the floor as you do. You want to be about a third of a rotation behind him if you can help it. If you find that you're taking missile fire, it means you're either too far ahead or too far behind Mel. At a certain rotation, he'll fire but consistently miss. This means you're close. Honing it in just a bit more, he won't fire at all. Correct this by closing in toward the center for however many rotations it takes, but do not jump. Anytime in the air, you can be sent flying off the edge, at which point you won't have any true means to avoid further missiles, and yes, you often have to jump to get back on the ring. Welcome to the nightmare I was enduring. Now, once your Berserk comes back, you can either start by using it or first countering your rotation. I'm not 100% sure of the correct angle, but I'm confident that you want to be more than 90 degrees behind Mel when you get off to the side. Too tight behind him and he seems to just go along the edge of the ramp, which won't give you a good shot. I tended to aim for closer to 180 degrees, which is again easiest to achieve by running in the opposing direction, but this does open you to missile fire in the process. By continually walking back off the edge until just as he hits the ramp, you have a pretty good chance to close in and show him the rage you've built up trying to perfect the strategy made physical. If you start walking backwards too early, you'll be too far away, and you won't have that window. In so many words, I'm actively taunting a massive hunk of metal to come as close to me as it can, carefully making sure to sidestep, and only by the skin of my teeth am I able to get hits in. It's not even remotely safe, nor is it perfectly reliable, but let me put it this way. I did it. And if I can do it, what's your excuse? Mad Mel is perfectly fightable with just your fists. It's not easy, but you don't need a car. Just the will to look an unstoppable force in the eye and declare that its prefix holds no power over you. Mel, genuinely, you are my favorite fight of this run. Thank you for making it interesting, but your time is up. The absolute legend that is Brick was then relegated to turning on generators, something literally anyone else could have done, and I feel like you're wasting some incredible talent here. We then went to talk to Tannis. Had to do so in person against all logic, but, you know, at least I'm getting my steps in. All the way over to Earl, because nobody on Pandora knows what the call, text, mail, so on functions of their Echo communicators do. Dude couldn't even be bothered to open the door for me. What followed was some bandit killing. Brick was doing so well, one could say he's on fire. Can't they see I'm blazing? Still, my heart is blazing. If their shots killed me, I don't need a new world order. You, my hands are my world, their bullets will never make me disappear. Really though, dropping in, knocking some heads was marvelously effective. What are they gonna do? Kill me? Cost me some money I won't spend. Only time I ever needed it was to respec, and with how much I just haven't had use for most of his skills. The following objective was to collect bottles, which I could get via killing bandits, so it was the same objective with a different coat of paint. Again, strange decisions from the dev team. Not egregious decisions, just strange. Why is this a story quest of all things? Makes no sense. If you'll excuse me, Earl. Do you mind? I'm trying to have a conversation! What followed can't exactly be called a mad dash, more of a careful one. I can't break the turrets shooting me, and I can barely avoid them. But barely is still a passing grade, so pass I must. The rising tide doesn't raise all guns. There are some of us who can't shoot. Some of us who are punching in the face. Not being innocent don't make a brick guilty. You can't keep your hands clean when they're filthy. With the world stained with human blood, there is no justice drowning face down in the mud. Of course, the victory was short-lived in the sense that I was far too low level to, do much on the other side of things, so I went back to see about getting some more experience. And Skagzilla wasn't a bad source exactly, but nor was it a good one. Took far many uses of my action skill to be relevant. Instead, I favored fighting some Meridian enemies. After completing the side quests they're tied to, I was able to repeat the fight a whole lot of times. And sure, the XP slowed down, but it was absolutely an injection of progress that I needed to progress. It may have taken a minute, but Krom's Canyon just didn't have the same sting that it had before. Mowing through his mobs was about as hard as Skagzilla, which is to say it wasn't. Okay, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, there were some rougher portions, sure. But the main thing keeping him alive, safe and breathing, was a badass bruiser that got absolutely bodied, and they can't kill me in any way that truly matters. Brick, fight until you die by the fist of the one you hate. End of reason, until the end of the game, die by the fist of the one you love to hate with all your heart. You lack mobility, Krom. You lack gumption, but most importantly, you lack a pulse. Another boss down. You know, Cobb, you wouldn't necessarily be memorable if your health recovered when I died, but you'd at least be a bit harder to kill. Shame about your face. I'd offer my condolences, but I'd have to care first. Wait, hold on. Why do I have more footage of killing the same guy? What do you mean he's different? I don't know. They both look like a bloody puddle on the ground. I'm pretty sure they're at least effectively the same guy. Luckily, we'd be in the right place for the two of them. Fitting name, Trash Coast. And ahead was no ordinary boss. It was an incredibly easy boss. Don't believe me? Let me show you what Brick can do. Yeah, sure, it doesn't look that impressive, but due to the ability to punch things at any range as long as we're aligned vertically, I had my pick of breaking its legs or its face. And due to it not healing on my death, well, its fate was sealed. Didn't matter how many racks it could send, and trust me, the answer to that question is far too many. Didn't matter that its stomps were dangerous, that my damage was low. Brick is rebirth. He is the fist in the eyes. Wake me when I die again, for I am rebirth. Cycle of wrath denied. Get back up and hit it again. As many times as it takes. Against all odds, incredibly easy boss. After it came freeing a claptrap, I guess. Like that was supposed to be hard. Because it was. I died more times than I probably should have. The Crimson Lance are remarksmanably good at shooting me. It's a good thing they're very briefly in the story and won't be relevant soon, right? Right? Cars? This is worse. Do you know how long I have to wait for them to break themselves so I can break them? Because I don't. Again, we were at it for 18 hours. The old brain ain't gonna be running at full capacity, and watching the time wasn't even sort of on my priority list. I was mostly just annoyed at how much Brick likes to throw said cars, helping them to get unstuck and getting me killed in the process. So much time sat on this rock listening for the sounds of their engines trying to blow themselves up, signaling my time for Brick to ruin things for me again. But you know, eventually it worked. Clearing out most of the top wasn't really a problem. A lot of dudes roughly my level, which is just fine with me. If I could demonstrate the audio just not working though, the sound you're about to hear is me messing with a car that's vaguely nearby on a different level of the map. Ah! 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 And, oh, a big brute that fails to heal. How painfully predictable, I suppose. That's right. Yeah, I know who you are. Yeah, I'm charged to keep our Pandora in peace, and you do not belong. Down, down, down. You're going down. Speaking of, dropping into a fight that I never remember even exists. 2 Royal Guards and Master McCloud. I am underleveled and have zero intention of backing out of here. Can confirm the Royal Guards hit like trucks. They also heal when I die. McCloud, on the other hand, does not. But by God is he damage resistant and also tanky even without it. The experience looked a little something like this. We managed to pin him into a corner where I could sort of hold him in place while dealing damage often enough to prevent his regen timer, but not by as wide a margin as I'd like. And his little helpers moved himself into a halt to nearly kill me right away. An immediate death like that would absolutely put us back at square one, and in so many words, this was not a fast fight. So I was absolutely terrified knowing there wasn't much I could do about it. We're losing blood now, but I can't punch any faster. Under the veil of rage we go on. Don't close your eyes. What if it all disappears in the shadows that reach from the heart? The only true solution was, I suppose fittingly, throwing as many bricks at him as was necessary to cave in his skull. That'll teach you for not wearing a helmet. Ooh, it'll make me look dorky, he says, not realizing he's part of the problem. Wear your goddamned helmet. Nothing makes you look dumber than becoming a meat cran, McCloud. Don't follow his example. Please be safe and use padding. It's not worth the risk. Also, he was the only mandatory enemy here, so I'm out of this hell pit. Gonna level with you though, Brick needed to. Still does. The difference isn't massive, but our survivability has officially fallen off, and our damage isn't faring much better. Best case, most of the time I was taking 1-to-1 trades with the Crimson Lance, dying to kill one at a time, and there are so many. Like, it was mostly this. I don't think I have much else to say on it. I eventually got to fight some more Iridian enemies that they were up against, but that's more or less all the true variety that remained for a spell. We were either running past things, which was mostly ineffective, punching dudes in the face, which was slightly more so, and pushing some buttons for story reasons. For the record, I don't really have anything against this portion of the game, except it makes it harder to write something for. It's like trying to talk about every room in the Bloodshot Stronghold, but several times in the same run, trying to find new stuff to say, so instead, we started running from everything that we could sprint past. If the fall damage in this game wasn't scaled badly, the verticality of this map might have been an issue, but here we go. Even taking more fire, we can just kind of heal through things as long as we're not burst down. And unlucky for them, we fell down. No burst involved. Please ignore all the times I died getting through. On the outside, we were only really stopping to kill Guardians, get some XP to make things go a little quicker in the last bit. I was worried though. I don't remember the last time I had a real fight with the Destroyer, especially within melee range. Like, does anyone take it seriously? I have more experience cheesing basic mobs in the sequel than I have in fighting the Destroyer in general. I was kinda worried, until I found out that the at least questionably most powerful thing in the universe not only doesn't heal on my death, meaning I could just throw myself at it until I win, but that I could just sit underneath it while almost none of its attacks can hit me. But I can certainly hit it. Right, left, right, left, right, left, smack, 15 blows. God knows I gave more than 15 back, but blow after blow, Brick stood strong. Rising to the challenge no matter how many times he fell, and I dare say we have officially bested Borderlands with only fists, and I feel pretty good about it. Most of all, Mel. Truth be told, I figured it'd be the breakpoint where we'd need a car, but by the power of, I don't know, ingenuity, stubbornness, incorrigibility, game's just breaking around me. Whatever it may be, by the power of my bullshit, we made it through. And whatever form it may take for you, I hope that you've enjoyed your time here. I'd like to thank my lovely channel members, as well as Twitch subscribers for your support. As always, it's good to have folks joining me for the ride that is these runs. Gives meaning in explaining the trials and tribulations that we've endured. Can't say I've ever stopped being nervous, but also excited to share, and Borderlands has been occupying a lot of my brain space lately. I suspect I have a whole lot of 4 ahead of me. But anyway, I digress. You probably know how to use social media, and I hope that means I'll get to hear your thoughts now and on any future outings. Until then, remember to stay safe, spread some kindness in the world, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.